Before humans built cities, before humans painted caves, before humans even had names for the stars above them, there was a moment when the first human looked at another human and tried to share a thought. Not a scream, not a warning, not a growl of fear. A thought. Something invisible inside one mind, somehow entering another. That single moment changed the history of life on Earth, because every war, every poem, every religion, every scientific discovery, and every love letter began with one impossible invention: language. But here is the mystery. No one was there to hear the first word ever spoken. No recording exists, no fossil can preserve a sentence. So how did a silent species suddenly learn to talk? And perhaps the bigger question is, did language actually begin with words at all? Most people imagine the story like this. A prehistoric human sees a dangerous animal. He points toward it and makes a sound. Maybe wolf, maybe danger. Over thousands of years, these simple sounds become more complex. Eventually, language is born. It sounds logical, simple, almost obvious, except for one major problem. Animals already communicate. Wolves warn their packs. Birds sing detailed songs. Whales exchange complex patterns across oceans. Monkeys have different alarm calls for different predators. Some monkeys can even distinguish between the threat of an eagle in the sky and a snake on the ground, responding with completely different behaviors. So if sounds alone created language, why didn't wolves write poetry? Why didn't dolphins develop philosophy? Why are humans the only species that can discuss yesterday, imagine tomorrow, or argue about things that don't even exist? However, this creates another mystery. Maybe the true power of language was never sound. Maybe it was something much stranger. Imagine yourself standing on Earth 100,000 years ago. The world is colder, the nights are darker, and every shadow could hide a predator. Your tribe has no phones, no books, no maps, no written history. Everything your species knows exists only inside living brains. A mistake during a hunt can mean starvation. A misunderstanding could mean death. Now imagine a group of hunters stalking a massive animal. They cannot shout. One loud noise and the prey disappears. So they communicate without words. A glance, a movement of the hand, a change in facial expression, a shared understanding. Most people never realize this. Our ancestors may have spent hundreds of thousands of years speaking with their bodies before their mouths ever told stories. But then something changed. Something happened inside the human brain that no other animal had achieved. And this is where everything changes. Scientists studying human evolution discovered something unexpected. The earliest form of language may have been a combination of gestures, facial expressions, and simple vocal sounds. In other words, human language may have started as a dance. Wait, what? Think about it. Even today, a baby points before it speaks. A person can understand anger, fear, or love just by reading another person's face. People across every culture use their hands while talking. Our bodies still remember an ancient language. But here comes the twist. Gestures alone cannot explain the human miracle, because a chimpanzee can also point. A dog can understand human emotions. Some animals can learn hundreds of symbols, yet they never create a story about a hero who fought a monster 1,000 years ago. They never discuss a future that has not happened. So what was the missing ingredient? The answer might be the most powerful ability evolution ever created: imagination. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary may have occurred. Many researchers believe humans experienced what is sometimes called a cognitive revolution. Suddenly, our ancestors began creating more sophisticated tools. They traveled across continents. They produced art. They buried their dead. They created symbols. And symbols changed everything. Wait, What? A symbol is something that exists physically but represents something invisible. A sound can represent an animal, a drawing can represent a spirit, a piece of paper can represent value. Money itself is nothing more than millions of humans agreeing to believe in a shared idea. This means language did not simply allow humans to exchange information, it allowed humans to create imaginary worlds together. Nations, gods, laws, stories, promises. The greatest human superpower was not speaking, it was believing the same fiction. But that discovery opens another terrifying question. If humans evolved to live inside stories, how many of our modern beliefs are ancient inventions? For millions of years, survival depended on cooperation. A single human was weak. No sharp claws, no powerful jaws, no incredible speed. Compared to other predators, humans were fragile, yet we conquered the planet. Why? Because we learned to connect minds. A lion can coordinate with a small pride. Wolves can hunt in packs. Ants can build enormous colonies. But humans achieved something no other animal managed. We could cooperate with thousands, then millions, and eventually billions of strangers. Wait, what? You trust people you will never meet. You obey laws created by people long dead. You use money created from collective imagination. Every modern civilization is built on ancient communication technology developed around a fire thousands of generations ago. And your brain still carries the instincts of those ancient tribes. You still search for social acceptance. You still fear rejection. You still crave stories. Because for your ancestors, being ignored by the tribe could mean death. This explains something many people feel today: loneliness, anxiety, the desire to be understood. Deep inside your brain lives a creature designed for small groups sitting around the fire under the night sky. For hundreds of thousands of years, every human voice you heard belonged to someone whose face you knew: your grandparents, your hunters, your friends, your family. Today, we hear thousands of voices through screens, but our ancient minds are still asking the same question: do I belong? The first language was never only about survival. It was about connection. A mother calming a frightened child, a hunter sharing a lesson, an elder telling the story of those who came before. Language became humanity's way of defeating time itself. Even after a person died, their thoughts could continue living in another mind. But the deepest mystery is still waiting. Why did evolution give us this extraordinary ability? Look at a cave painting created tens of thousands of years ago. The artist who made it is gone. Their tribe is gone. Their world disappeared. Yet a thought from their mind traveled across thousands of generations and reached yours. That is the real miracle of language. It is a machine that allows one consciousness to touch another. No claws, no teeth, no physical weapon has transformed Earth as much as a sound made by a human lips. And perhaps the strangest part is this: the first human who invented language never knew what they had created. They could never imagine libraries, the internet, artificial intelligence, or millions of strangers listening to a voice from a machine. A tiny sound made around the prehistoric fire eventually became the technology that allowed humanity to understand the universe itself. So, how did ancient humans communicate? Before words, they likely spoke with eyes, hands, expressions, and emotions. Then, over thousands of generations, the human brain developed the ability to turn sounds into symbols. Those symbols became stories, and those stories became civilizations. The first language was not simply a collection of words. It was the moment an animal learned to share an invisible world with another mind. A wolf can howl, a whale can sing, a bird can call across a forest, but only humans can whisper an idea that survives for 40,000 years. And maybe that's the strangest discovery of all. We are not separated from the animal kingdom. We're the continuation. a species of ape that learned to turn breath into memory and memory into immortality. But if this ancient instinct survived for thousands of years, what other ancient behaviors are still controlling us today?